So as far as some things that were happening over the last few months, there was a particular type of campaign that was going on regarding internet bills. And these are a series of internet bills that has been in the docket that
Yeah.
has really been, really bad for us as the
Yeah.
people. If you want to get into that just a little bit to talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, basically, there's a lot of tech dystopian bills out there that have been proposed by various entities in our lovely Congress and Senate, and we knew that before the Senate recess they were going to kind of push a couple, and the one in particular that they really pushed for was a bill called KOSA. Now, KOSA stands for the Kids Online Safety Act, which of course sounds great. Why would you not want that? Who doesn't want kids to be safe online? We all want that, don't we? But the sad thing is that this bill does not keep kids safe online. In
Mhm.
reality, this is just a censorship bill. It wants to give government bureaucrats and other state entities the authority to say what is and isn't safe resources for children. And in
Yeah.
particular, they're looking to censor LGBTQ resources and information from young people who need it.
Hmm.
That's their agenda. The Heritage Foundation said that out loud, that they support KOSA because they want to keep, in particular, transgender resources away from people.
Hmm.
And Ted Cruz was doing markup on this bill. So it's not a bill that keeps kids safe online. It's just a bill that allows dogmatic lawmakers to kind of determine what you can and can't see online, especially when you're a young person. So, and it would have a lot of chilling effects if something like this were ever signed into law.
Yeah.
So, KOSA did make it out of committee, which we kind of thought it would in the Senate committee. That doesn't mean it's a law, but it did
Hmm.
make it out of committee. But a bunch of concerns were expressed. Ed Markey expressed some concerns, which, shout out to him. He did the right thing there.
Hmm.
And that means it is not likely to go to the bill or go to the floor anytime soon. Now, if it does go to the floor, that would be concerning because it does have some opposition in the House. It has less opposition in the Senate, and Joe Biden has expressed support for it. Now,
Of course,
all
yeah.
these, yeah, of course he has. Some of these things could change because KOSA has gotten a lot of, there's been a big campaign around KOSA, and a lot of people have sort of flipped on it. I mean, there were some people who initially they saw the kids online safety part and thought, well, this is a good bill. Of course, we're for keeping kids safe online.
Hmm.
And it has bipartisan support. That means all kinds of when Democrats and Republicans work together, we just get sunshine and rainbows, right? So, they kind of got on board with it. Then when they really saw the concerns that were being amplified by basically every digital rights group and human rights group in the country, they said, oh, this bill isn't what it claims to be. And they kind of flipped their stance on it. So people can go to badinternetbills.com, stopcosa.com, sign the petition. If you've already signed, calling is really effective. And we just got to flood these lawmakers. I mean, the fact that they didn't get it to the floor as quickly as they wanted to is a good sign that they're feeling rattled by us. So we just got to keep it going. I mean, look, at the end of the day, these politicians, they don't really serve you. They serve the donors. So
Hmm.
the only power you have is when you are so loud that you worry them that if they do something, it's going to cost them their job. So,
Hmm.
you got to overwhelm them and you got to say, hey, you signed this into law. Everyone's going to remember it next election time, and you might not have your job much longer.
Yeah. There's something actually I want to expand a little bit on the COSA bill that you were actually talking about. This is out of the Houston Chronicle. It says Katy ISD, that's a school district, blocks LGBTQ plus resources, suicide prevention websites from students.
Mm,
And this is what the scary part about it. It says KDISD blocks several websites of organizations that serve LGBTQ plus children, including suicide prevention hotlines, through the district's student intranet, a Houston Chronicle analysis found. And it says that a group of students and advocates say limiting access to these sites makes it more difficult for kids in need to reach life-saving resources such as the Trevor Project. a suicide hotline for LGBTQ plus youth, and an advocacy nonprofit. They also argue censoring material aimed at helping kids sends a harmful message that their identities are not validated and their lives are not valued. So, really, this is a life and death situation, because if you're basically blocking the resource for children to be able to go to these sites and say, hey, I'm part of this community, I have suicide ideation, I need help.
Yeah.
And if you block that from them, then is it really life saving? Because it sounds more dogmatic and ideology preserving than life saving, right?
Hmm. Yeah, and this is just, I mean, this is an instance from 2021, and this is one school doing it. So imagine that being done on the mass level.
Mm-hmm,
Imagine, the entire state of Texas doing this, or the state of Florida doing this.
mm-hmm,
That's what that's basically the door that would be opened if something like COSA were ever to become law. And since this campaign has happened, there have been a ton of young people that have expressed serious concerns.
mm-hmm,
Because, I mean, look, there's people out there, especially young people in the LGBTQ community, that maybe they don't have a supportive family. Maybe they
mm-hmm,
don't really have, and I mean, I'm sure, I mean, you can probably, just speak to these issues better than I can, but you hear about it. I mean, you hear about their family's not accepting, or their family's not supportive, and they, so really they have to turn to these resources online. I mean, I know people who are in that situation in my life. I'm sure you do in yours. It's these resources really are life saving, and to take it away from people who already have it pretty tough, to just kind of getting through things. I mean, it's really terrible.
mm-hmm. And it's interesting because a lot of times people don't realize one of the biggest factors in youth homelessness is because of them being part of the LGBTQ community and their parents finding out and kicking them out of the house.
Yeah.
And so a lot of these kids who you see out on the streets are really just kids that were kicked out because of their identity. The problem is that if they're trying to get resources in order to find help so that they may be able to sustain their life so that they won't end up, you know, offing themselves, then really you're taking that resource away and making it more dangerous for their lives. And you're basically saying at a state level that you don't matter. And that's the dangerous part. And when it comes to laws like this is why they'll they'll put it as protecting kids, but in reality, they don't even want to recognize us. And I know some people are going to see this phrase as controversial for me, but gay kids exist. You may not want to think that they exist. I'm talking to the people who may be disagreeing. You may
Yeah.
not want to think they exist, but I was a gay kid at 8 years old. I knew that I liked the same gender, the same sex. It was not anything that was imposed upon me or anything like that. We exist. And therefore, because you have people who don't want us to exist or want us to go back into the closet, they will make laws so that we are not aware of resources that can actually help us to thrive. And so this is why it is so important, because as somebody who has suicide ideation multiple times throughout my life, I wish I had resources like the Trevor Project or different resources like this to call or to go on their websites in order to preserve myself alive. And I'm lucky to still be alive to this day.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And that's the thing, that's what they're trying to take away from, this generation of young people. And,
Mm-hmm,
I mean, I can only imagine. I mean, first of all, yeah, I don't know what it's like firsthand to be part of the, LGBTQ community.
mm-hmm,
But, and I can also only imagine what it's like being a young person today with, I mean, it's like some of these, there's a lot of toxic stuff that happens online too. So it's like you need resources to really balance it out, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
And, the idea that like you're going to take that away from them, well, especially just leaving the toxicity,
Mhm.
it's just, I mean, it's just straight up barbaric. And it's just straight up yeah, kind of like you're saying, like, okay, if you know, it's pretty sad that we're living during a time where such a statement like the one you just said is controversial to some people. Like,
Mhm.
hey, yeah, gay people exist, trans people exist. That's not controversial. It's very sad that we haven't moved further than that as a society. But
Yeah.
sadly, we haven't. So we gotta just stop archaic laws like this. And this also just goes into the whole religious freedom idea where it's just like, you know what? Freedom of religion means you can practice whatever you want as long as you're not bothering anyone else. It
Mhm.
doesn't mean you get to make your dogma and bake it into people's laws. You don't get to do that.
Mhm. Yeah. It's really a determination of what you can do, not for you to determine what society can and can't do. But
Yeah.
I wanted to move on because that wasn't the only bill. So and you, me, and Sabby Sabs have actually talked about the Restrict Act
Yeah.
um, at length. A lot of people are more aware of this, and they think that it's basically a TikTok ban, but in reality, it's not.
Well, I mean, it would potentially ban TikTok, but that's
Yeah,
one of many, many things it would do. Like
that's
that's
what I
sort
meant to
of
say.
that,
Sorry.
that that's like sort of like just chipping the top off the iceberg as far as what it would do. Like it's
Mhm.
not like it would just be, hey, TikTok's gone and that was the entirety of the law. Like the actual bill is even worse. Like it does like way more than that. So basically it demonizes any entity like apps or third party software or news websites
Mhm.
that comes from anywhere outside of the United States.
Like RT America, things like that.
Yep, yeah,
Mhm.
anything. I mean, it messes with something called the Bourbon Amendment, which is what allows us as American citizens to see information from other countries, and a president can't decide what is and isn't news. This basically blows a hole in that, which means Joe Biden or Donald Trump or Ron DeSantis, whoever's president, can just randomly be like, "Hey, I'm going to ban the BBC," like whatever they want. I mean, just any entity from outside of the United States. They could be like, I'm banning this. You can't see this anymore. And they'd be allowed to do that. Um, the Restrict Act, it also demonizes apps from other places, which of course includes TikTok. So it would set the stage for a TikTok ban. And the other interesting part about the Restrict Act, and I know that we talked about this, you, myself, and Sabby, um, is that one of the big promoters of this bill, I don't know if he's an actual co-sponsor. I'm not sure off the top of my head, but one of like the kind of big faces behind this bill is Mark Warner,
Yeah,
who is
Senator Mark Warner. Yeah.
yeah, who is one of the
Mhm.
wealthiest members in all of in all of Congress, in the House, the Senate, one of the wealthiest members, potentially the wealthiest.
Mhm.
And he also, an area where he has a ton of investments is in domestic software. So he has this bill demonizing anything from outside the United States when he has all this money invested in stuff that's in the United States. So it's a total self-interest bill, and it's just baked in xenophobia and stuff
Mhm.
like that. And that hearing, I covered that hearing on that live when it happened, and it was the most ridiculous. I mean, it was just so painful. Just they were being so disrespectful to that gentleman from TikTok. I mean, it
Mhm.
was it was humiliating. I mean, just as an American citizen watching that thing.
Yeah.
And then the stuff like and that whole thing revealed that it's like, look, are there security concerns around TikTok? Totally. But they're the same security concerns that exist when you log into Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or you name it,
Yeah.
Snapchat, whatever. You get the idea. In fact, that hearing taught us that Facebook and Instagram in particular are worse than TikTok. They do more with your data than TikTok does. They're
Yeah.
worse. They
You're
are
actually safer
worse.
with TikTok than you are with Facebook.
Yeah, you're safer with TikTok than you are with Facebook. That's why I mean it's so I mean the irony is just so blissful when
I
you
know.
see people complaining, "Oh, we just need to ban TikTok." They're saying it on Facebook. Like, you serious? They're just like, oh, TikTok, it's just such a bad platform. It makes us all more stupid. Oh yeah, and a social media platform has never done that before. TikTok's the first one. I don't know about you, JB, but Facebook has made my father-in-law a scientist, a medical doctor, and a philosopher. We're very proud of him. So yeah, it's just so amazing, the propaganda.
Yeah, you had sounded like Peter Griffin right there. Yeah, TikTok is dangerous. We should get rid of it. Yeah,
TikTok. I can't do a Peter Griffin. That was
yeah,
my attempt.
yeah. But my thing though is crazy.
Lois, I'm on TikTok. That was bad. That was not good. I'm not
Peter,
good at Peter Griffin.
we can't just ban TikTok. Um,
Peter, why
Peter,
would you ban TikTok? It's just a
would you ban
platform like any
TikTok?
other platform.
TikTok, the fractions. Sorry.
You have a pretty good Peter.
Oh gosh, yeah. Well, I mean, I try a little bit, but
We're
once
dating
in a
ourselves by referencing Family Guy.
while,
We're
I hope not. Oh my
I think
goodness.
I don't think anyone watches that anymore.
Oh
I think
no,
that's
no,
sort
no,
of
no.
just, but I remember, I mean, we both remember when that was like, I mean, I remember in college, like the Family Guy theme song was like, you would hear it on any given dorm room floor at any given time. There was always somebody watching Family Guy. Always,
Yeah, yeah,
always. That show was just everywhere. Family Guy was just, man, couldn't get
yeah,
away from it. And it
yeah.
wasn't that popular when it first aired. Like, it first aired and it
No.
was just kind of like whatever. And then somehow, man, the DVDs went viral physically, because that was back when people would still buy DVD sets.
Yeah.
Oh fuck, I'm just gonna stop.
We remember DVDs,
Yeah,
kids.
right. Tell us more, Grandpa. What
Yeah.
else did you?
When I back in my day, we used to go to a place called Blockbuster Video. Well, whippersnappers in your streaming.
I do miss the old fashioned video store. I mean, they're still out there, but you really got to dig for them. You got to like make the effort to shop there, which admittedly I don't. But man, I do kind of miss that. It's a special thing. Who
Who
wants chowder?
But so, one of the things that I honestly do think that it is egregious because someone like Mark Warner pushing his own, really for his own financial gain, is willing to sell out the American people because he is invested in an industry that he has money, he has a vested interest in. So it just shows. And the thing is that a lot of times when you talk about the Restrict Act, the first thought to a lot of people is, oh, that must be a Republican that's starting that. When in reality, it's not. It's a Democrat.
Yeah. I mean, it
You know,
has a lot of bipartisan support, but yeah, I mean, it's the Democrats are not great on any of this stuff. I mean, you do have a handful of Democrats that are pretty good on digital rights
of
policy.
course.
Typically, Ed Markey is usually good on these issues. Merkley in Oregon is usually good on these issues. Presley sometimes will at least voice support.
Okay.
Rokana is usually good on digital rights issues. But I mean, again, it's like, I mean, you can't always count on people going to the mat for it when it really matters. I mean, you can usually count on them to vote the right way. But Peter Welch is usually good on these issues. And again, when I'm pointing this out, I'm talking digital rights. I don't mean like every single thing, but like digital rights usually there are some people in office who consistently are pretty solid on these issues. And it's usually because they just have a digital rights organization that they ask questions to, which
Yeah.
is not, I mean, Bernie Sanders usually gets digital rights right. I mean, he was the
Yeah.
only presidential candidate in 2020 to come out in support of a facial recognition ban. I'm going to go out on a ledge here and I'm going to say that, the 80-year-old guy from Vermont isn't necessarily, on the cutting edge when it comes to technology as an individual. I mean, maybe he is, but I
Well,
tend to doubt it. I just think he asked the right people. I think Bernie asked the right people and, frames a perspective.
Yeah, I mean that kind of goes like against the whole like, well, if they're older, they're not going to understand. No, it's there's a lot of older people that can and do understand. I mean, look, yeah, people saw like Dr. Cornel West. He's 70 years old and he's running for president. And there's a lot of things that would excite young people, of
Yeah.
course. And my thing is that you have some people that they have a there's two schools of thought. There's excuse me, either there is a restrict people's rights for either personal gain, or they have this belief that things are just run amok, or you have people who want to understand, and then as they understand, then they can maneuver well. And it's kind of funny because it also depends on who you surround yourself with. KRS-One, I don't know if I can play it on here because I don't want to get copyright claim. But there's KRS-One's talking to a young woman. She's interviewing. He's
Hmm.
interviewing him, and he said, "When older people," he goes, "when young people listen to older people, they move faster among younger people. When older people listen to younger people, they move faster among older people. And then when younger people and older people actually listen to each other, that's when you have it's called culture." And so basically, the thing is that you have a lot of elderly people in Congress and in the Senate who don't listen to younger people.
Hmm.
And because of that, they think that the internet is just this,
Yeah.
you know, wild, wild west. And then so they think that, oh my God, kids are being subjected to all this crazy stuff, when in reality, it's not that simple. And so they don't listen to a lot of us who are saying, no, this is how it should be done. And so I think that people, like I have a lot of issues with Bernie, but the fact that he actually listened to younger people on this subject is actually a good thing. And I think that a lot of people need to listen to people who are older, who are younger on some of these issues that they don't understand.
Yeah, or just someone who kind of covers the beat. I mean, you don't necessarily have to be a tech genius to understand basic tech policy, nor do you necessarily have to be young or old. It just has to be, kind of an area that you sort of dwell in.
Mhm.
And, I mean, you have some elected officials that listen to these organizations a lot who just listen to the lobbyists.
Yeah.
And, I mean, age has not, I mean, there's plenty of young people who, younger people in office who get it wrong. So yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things. I mean, it's, and as far as like Bernie and people like them getting it right, I don't know. My friend Tim Carroll has a great song. It's called "You Can't Stay Young, but You Can Stay Cool." And
That's us. That's
yeah,
us, man.
yeah, man. No. I think that's a good sentiment to try to live your life by. I actually play that song every year on my birthday, and it hits harder and harder with every passing year. I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely older now, and but you know what they say, you can't stay young, but you can stay cool, and
Yeah.
and the problem is like Joe Biden was never cool, so it's like
No, he was never cool. Trust and
so
believe
so yeah, I mean, it's just it's one of those things, and then going big picture, like you look at what we're facing with the climate collapse. You look at what just happened in Maui. You look at what's happening in Italy. You look at what is happening in Alaska and Canada. I mean, it's here. We're freaking here.
that.
And we really need to start taking solutions seriously, and that's an understatement. And the thing that
Yeah.
really sucks is that we're going to need some top bottom leadership here from governments all around the world.
Hmm.
And we're not seeing it, at least not in the United States. I mean, some other countries are doing some pretty good stuff, but the United States certainly is not going to lead. They're going to be dragged kicking and screaming
Yeah, over
politically.
driving.
And you look at our global village, which is just the technology we have, our apps, the internet, and you look at this and you think this can be an essential tool in helping us build a better world. or it can be, a dystopian surveillance hellscape tool.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's up to us. And that's why I take digital rights as seriously as I do, because I see the connection between, no pun intended, but I see the connection between digital rights and labor rights, digital
Mm-hmm.
rights and climate change, digital rights and democracy and news and information and free speech. I mean, all of those issues that are very heavy pillar issues in our world can be very connected to digital rights. So it's like when you
Yeah.
let bills like this get in, and that's why they tried to squeeze it in before the August recess. They're like, look, COSA has a lot of stigma around it, deservedly so. So let's just try to squeeze it into these must pass spending bills when people are asleep, and let's make them laws. That's how they got the Telecommunications Act in 1996 through, because they knew
Yeah.
that if people really knew what that bill was, no one would want to see that become law ever. So
Mm-hmm.
they pushed it through the dead of night, relying on a bunch of people to not even understand what the hell it was. And, they completely ruined news and information completely. That's what that bill did. So now we see new iterations on that for the internet. I mean, that's how they got rid of net neutrality. I mean, they kind of just, in the dead of night, Trump's FCC just sort of rolled back net neutrality protections.
Mm-hmm.
But people were awake that time, and they started kicking and screaming, and so we got a bunch of state net neutrality laws through, which is sort of holding the front line till we can get it back federally.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, I mean, these issues are very much connected to other things that are really that are really important. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I appreciate you expressing that. One of the things I wanted to add to your point is that when we're online, that's an extension of ourselves. This is an extension of yourself in the digital realm,
mhm.
and then it comes out in life. And when people don't realize that, like for instance, a lot of people say, well, Twitter or this site isn't real life. It is. It's just you're using a channel to go through in order to affect real life. When
Mhm.
we say things on Twitter, for instance, we're not saying it just to put out into the ether so that nobody reads it. We're saying it because we expect other people to read it. We expect it to hit their minds and maybe their hearts as well. So there's an expectation behind it. That means you want it to affect somebody in real life.
Mhm.
Therefore, Twitter is real life. Facebook is real life. Going on different sites and reading, studies that have happened out in real life that are put online so that you get that information that if it affects you in your life, it is all real life. So the thing is that when these corporate dictators influence our politicians in order to restrict our access online, that's just restricting an access in real life for us. And that's honestly what I see it as.
Well, yeah, man. I mean, look at the monopoly Amazon has, the near monopoly Amazon has on online commerce. The fact that they have that allows them to exploit their warehouse workers the way they do, allows them to exploit, all their workers the way they do. They wouldn't be able to do that if they didn't have this dictatorship online. And Cory Doctorow framed it this way that I thought was like really brilliant. He was like, imagine if Amazon was an actual physical thing, which now they actually do have some physical storefronts. But he's like, imagine if Amazon, just the whole idea of Amazon and
Yeah.
Amazon's place on the internet was an actual physical town where it's like, okay, this one guy runs the town and you can sell your stuff here, but this one guy gets to decide where your stuff gets seen, where your storefront can be. And by the way, this one guy can make duplicates of whatever it is you're selling if he decides to do so. And then his duplicates get shown first when your storefronts gets pushed into some warehouse or something or some basement where no one's going to see it. And that's the free market, baby. Like imagine if a place like that existed where there was just this one dude going like, "Hey man, those pillows that you hand make, those are pretty cool. I'm going to make a duplicate of those and a knockoff. My price is going to be lower and I'm going to push you down to the basement." Everyone's going to see my pillows now and not yours. Thanks. I mean, just imagine if that was like a real place. People would go
Mm-hmm.
nuts. People would revolt. But that's what
Yeah.
we have online. And that's why we need antitrust enforcement online. And again,
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those things like people are not paying attention to these things and they're not realizing it's like when you let people do this, when you let big tech, because that's what big tech really is.
Yeah.
Big tech is the Mark Zuckerbergs, they're the Jeff Bezos, and the people who lobby on their behalf. They're the Elon Musks. Like that's what big tech is. That's what their agenda really is. They want to monopolize e-commerce completely, and they want to monopolize their profits really.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and the big solution for all of this is better data privacy for people so that they
Yeah.
can't just be so that we're I mean Facebook has found a way, and it's not just Facebook, although they're just the biggest culprit. Facebook has found a way to profit off of us like thrice. They profit off of us because they sell to us because they're hearing everything we see and or hearing everything we say and do and everything everywhere we go on their website, so they sell back to us, so they get money from advertisers that way. They use our data as a product. Our data is the product, so they make money that way. And then the third way they make money is just keeping you on the site in general. So it just inflates their numbers by feeding you stuff that's going to keep you on Facebook. Better data privacy blows a hole in all that.
Mm.
But, you know, they would never go there because better data privacy would actually hurt the pocketbook of Mark Zuckerberg. It would actually hurt the pocketbook of all these moguls. And they don't actually want to do that.
Yeah. In fact, just to put a finer point on it, you were talking about kosher, and there was a video on TikTok that actually talks about it. And just want to go here, and we can finish up on the other side.
So let's talk about KOSA, or the Kids Online Safety Act, that is being presented in Congress this upcoming month, and why you should be worried about it and informed about it. So this was a bill that was presented with teens and kids' mental health in mind. And basically the solution is to, quote unquote, give tools to the parents and kids to regulate and modify their internet experience. What they're not saying is that this bill puts queer and minority creators at risk, as well as puts websites and apps such as TikTok, AO3, Wattpad, Tumblr at risk of being deleted and wiped. Go to this lovely creator's account right here, go to their bio, and they have a full link tree full of open letters and petitions that you can sign. It is very easy. It even puts you in contact, as well as has a full script where you can call your senator or lawmaker and actually take action. All of this information is on this creator's page, and I did again want to amplify something that she said, which is you can't just sit around and cry about it. If you really do enjoy the freedom of expression that we have on websites and forums like AO3, like TikTok, you need to call your senators and lawmakers. You just need to. Here's a screenshot of her profile with the link tree, as well as all these.
And so
Amen.
the thing is that a lot of times, when I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. I was just uttering agreement with the creator there. I mean, amen. And I think that kind of call to action with a little bit of frustration, that really hits home. Where it's like look, sometimes you just got to. Sometimes you just got to. Because I hear people, they're just like, well, I don't want to. I mean, I'm tired of petitions. I'm tired of this. Look, I get it. But this is how it works. This is how lawmaking works in the United States. And it's a really shitty system. And we are grossly disadvantaged.
Yeah.
But sometimes, you just have to. You just have to apply pressure to your lawmakers, because that's the only time we win. We only win when somebody is scared they're going to lose a job. And so it's like, you got to,
Mm-hmm. And in fact, pressure is is good, because it actually makes sure that things get done. And sometimes you got to scare them a bit.
You really do. I mean, dude, everything. I mean, in the past year or so, here in California, Gavin Newsom has signed a couple things that I've been happy about. He signed a pretty extensive climate action thing that, even though it's nowhere near as much as we need. It's a lot better even than what we're doing federally. So it's a step in a better direction. He signed the extensive statewide broadband bill here in California. He signed something to allow the creation for more public banks. He finally committed to a fracking moratorium. Of course, he was handing out fracking permits like candy. So I'm not, but at least he finally did a moratorium. When did he do all of these things that I liked? When he was scared he was going to get recalled. That's when he did it.
Mm-hmm.
He did it then. I mean, so it's like, yeah, whenever they're in a place where they're just like, oh man, people are really ticked off because I'm not doing my freaking job.
Yeah.
I gotta give them something. And that's the only time. I mean, at least as far as California, the other time he signed some good things is right near an election year. Because it's just like, well, an election's coming up. I got to do some things that the people are going to like. I mean, it's BS, and it's sad, and it's corrupt to the gills. But unfortunately, it's what we have. And while we're simultaneously fighting for a better system, we got to fight for the laws that will help us get to that better system.
Mm-hmm. So one of the things that I'm going to do is I'm sharing the link to bad internet bills. It's pretty simple and easy. You just put bad internet bills.
Yeah, it's straightforward.
Straightforward.
So, badinternetbills.com, and the other big one is stopcosa.com.
Yeah.
And you don't have, I mean, you can read about all these bills too, from those websites and see the information links. You don't have to just take my word for it. Like you can do some digging, and obviously we don't have enough time to go through every single bill. So yeah, check it out.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I do have one tip on Rockfin that I want to read while you're still here before I let you go, because
sure, man.
I think Roger Meadows said something, and I think that it might be advantageous for you to react to it as well. So let me share the screen really quick.
Do it, man. Roger's a cool guy.
Yeah, Professor Xavier type of guy. Always teaching me stuff. Roger says, I caught you from the beginning this time, James. I gave YouTube my best angry black man. They made sure to let me know your show was on. So I got some updated news for you in EPB in the Chattanooga broadband thing. Remember when I said that they're faster in the country at 10 gigs? Well,
yeah.
Peep this title. Uh-oh.
Yeah, check it out.
Yeah. Okay, hang on. Let me take a look at this, because, man, God, Roger's a resource. If you guys don't follow Roger Meadows on his Twitter, you guys better. See, so this is EPB launches America's first community-wide 25 gig internet service. What?
Yeah, man. Chattanooga's got the best. They got the best. Yeah, man, because
Ron?
Yeah, back in 2014, Chattanooga just wired their grid to have community broadband. Like they have like when I talk about municipal broadband, this is what I'm talking about.
Okay, hang on. Before I get into this really quick, because I don't want to take too much of your time, because I know I said like 30 minutes. But here's the crazy part. Okay, so Nico House, right? Nico just moved to Brazil, and he was like, man, my internet is 3-4 times faster than when I was living in the United States, and I was paying good money for great internet.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow, for some reason, they have more municipalized broadband in their country, and United States is way richer than Brazil, and yet he has better internet. And so from seeing that to seeing this, it's not that we can't afford it or we just can't have it. Is that I honestly think that these internet service providers are literally throttling us on purpose.
Well, I don't think it's so much they're throttling us. I think it's more they just don't invest in infrastructure because they don't have to. Like, it's as simple as they have basically an organized duopoly, which is more or less what they have. I mean, I know there's technically more than two companies, but they have it broken down where it's like, this is Comcast territory, this is AT&T territory. I mean, they basically operate like the mob pretty much. And they don't put money into infrastructure because they don't have to. They're the only game in town, and they're a for-profit entity. So they just want to make as much money as possible. So they're going to keep infrastructure costs down, and they're going to keep prices up. So you pay more and get less when it comes to internet. In a municipal broadband situation, your internet is being run by your city. And guess what? Whether you are the mayor, the richest resident, or the poorest resident, we all want our porn to load fast. So usually they have good infrastructure, because internet infrastructure is not like some Rubik's Cube. It can be done. I mean, there were farmers in the UK, like a group of farmers in a rural area in the UK. They didn't like the internet that was available to them, so they just laid cable down underneath like some of their land with tractors, and they have like amazing, fiber broadband now. It's not rocket science. It can be done. It's a policy choice here in the United States, and that's why I'm such a big municipal broadband advocate. And like Chattanooga is one of the biggest success stories. There's other success stories. There's North Dakota also has a lot of municipal broadband going on. They also have the oldest public bank in the world. Or not in the world, in the United States. I don't know about the world, but yeah, the oldest public bank in the United States. There's a lot of this stuff. It does exist here. And I think that's part of the problem with just the United States as it exists, because we're such a freaking big country that it's like, when we do have these wins, a lot of people just don't know about it. In like smaller countries, like when something like this happens, well, it spreads really fast throughout the rest of the country. So it becomes a national thing quicker. Whereas here, we're just so goddamn big that unless you really stay abreast of this stuff, there's still tons of people who have no idea Chattanooga is Gig City, USA. They don't know that. Or if they do know that, they have no idea why. Like that's still like, that's not a common thing people know still. That more people know now than they did like 3 or 4 years ago. But, it's one of those things.
Definitely, man. Definitely. And so I shared that link to everybody. I just want to be respectful of your time because I know I went over.
No, it's cool, man. I always enjoyed talking to you. Thanks for having me. And sorry I was a minute late because my webcam did a little reboot on me.
Nah, you
had a
you
surprise.
You were fashionably late, which I wish I was as fashionable as you are.
Well, I appreciate it, man, dude. I always love coming on your show, and I love what you do. And if you don't mind, I'll let folks know, if there's any international folks listening, I'm getting ready. I'm leaving for the Edinburgh Fringe Festival next week. My shows are August 16th through 27th. I'm part of the Free Fringe. So if anyone's in Edinburgh, Scotland, and going to the Fringe Festival, I will be there August 16th through 27th. My shows are at 4 p.m. daily. Part of the Free Fringe, so you don't need tickets in advance. Just show up, and you can get more information at my website right there, ronplacone.com. And, my movie should be coming out. My goal is November. So hopefully by November, my movie will be finished and screening and available. And I hope you'll have me back on to talk about it once it is out.
Just let me know, and you're on, dude. Oh, Roger says one more. Hang on, one more for you. Okay, all right. And then I gotta let him go because he has places to go and things to do, people to see.
All right.
So let me just do this really quick. Let me see. Where is it? Okay, here we go. All right. So Roger Meadows. So Ron, regarding the public banking bill, someone from the public banking community I am part of, Newsom put a poison pill in there to say that they have to have FDIC membership, which means they're limited to cover insurance only $250,000 of taxes. That is unnecessary because public banks are their own FDIC. When they are allowed to be who they are, they can cover hundreds of billions of dollars in taxes. So my point is, whether we're talking about public banks or broadband, it doesn't matter how big or small government is that we argue with libertarians in the right all the time. That what matters is who controls government. If you want to make government work for you, then you must control the government, push citizen ballot initiatives, because even when the government passes something, it's always a string attached.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so very much, Roger. All right. All right. So, yeah, thanks for coming, man. And be sure to, if you guys are international, get tickets at ronplacone.com. And by the way, go to his YouTube channel. I also have that linked in the description below, so you guys can get your news on with Ron. And also, you're on TikTok too.
Yeah, I'm not really good at it, but I am on it. I hope to get better at TikTok. It's on my agenda. I want to get better at TikTok.
It'll grow, trust me.
I mean, Twitter's just, I don't know. Twitter's my main one, and it's just so exhausting these days. You know, it's just really not fun anymore. So,
yeah.
I mean, it never was great, but it's just way less fun than it used to be. And so I'm kind of like, I mean, I'm on Blue Sky, but that seems to not be really moving all that quickly. And I'm on Threads, but I don't know. I feel like everyone's scrambling to find like an actual Twitter replacement, but I just don't know if it's going to happen. So
something's going to happen, but I think it's going to be further down the line. But yeah,
I hope so. I hope so. I mean, we'll see. I don't know. I mean, it's like, I mean, it bums me out. The whole thing bums me out because like Twitter used to be, I would say, a very valuable tool. Like a valuable tool in finding, you know, like what was going on in news, especially in like the more indie space. Now, because the algorithms are just all topsy-turvy, not that they were ever perfect, but they were better than they are now. Now, I just think its usefulness as a tool has completely went away. And it's, I just think it's very sad what happened to that website. I still use it because, you know, it's still, you know, I think it still has its usefulness to an extent, but it's such a bummer. It almost looks like a villain origin story. Like when you see like the old thing, then you see this like dumb looking X now. It's like a villain origin story. And it's like for a while I thought Elon Musk was actually trying to destroy it. But now I just think he really is that clueless. I think he surrounds himself with sycophants and yes men, and he really is that clueless on everything.
Yeah, he thinks he's a Elon Musk when in reality he's a Justin Hammer.
Yeah, it's a bummer, man. I mean, I wish they would have let him get out of it. Like he wanted to get out of it. I wish they just would have let him.
Me too.
But unfortunately, they were like, no, we're calling your bluff. 44 billion, please. It's like, ah, shit. He's gonna ruin it, and of course he did. Even quicker than I thought. It was a really quick ruin.
Yeah. He's not even a good supervillain. Gosh.
No.
Yikes. Anywho.
All right, man. Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure.
All right, man. Take care. Have a great trip, by the way.
All right. Peace, man.